Hello friends, and welcome to the Hanged Man in the Moon. If this is your first time here, welcome. Thank you for coming. I'm pleased to meet you. If you've been here before, thank you for returning. I'm truly honored. Friends, if you are a returning visitor, you know that this is my Back to Basics series within the larger context of my deep dive into the Thoth Tarot. The tarot created by Lady Frida Harris and Harris-Crowley. And I've really been enjoying this dive into the Thoth Tarot. I'm cutting near the end of this journey, and I'm probably going to be moving on to a year of Lenormand, maybe. That's my plan, at least at this point. If you have any ideas about that, let me know in the comments below what you think, what you'd like me to see. Would you rather me move on to something like, I don't know, another continental series with Papas and maybe Atea? But I think my idea of going for Lenormand first might be the best, but tell me what you think. I'd love to hear from you. So that's where we are, where we're going, and why do I call this my Back to Basics series? Just in case you are new here, I am one who has been very interested in very large spreads. I've been laying out spreads of minimum 7 to 15 or more on the table each week, and then reading them with you together. But for this Back to Basics series, I've been limiting myself to 3 tarot cards and 2 oracle cards. And I think that's been of benefit for me, at least, to give attention, deeper attention, to each one of the cards created by Lady Frida Harris and Harris-Crowley, and the decks that have evolved from their deck, right? Because for the last few months, last couple of months maybe, I've been using Thoth-based decks instead of the actual Thoth. I'm planning on bringing out my greenie for next week. Just to give you a heads up, I've got a greenie and I'm planning on using that next week. But before we get into this week's spread and the cards, let's think a little bit about something. You've heard people say, I'm sure, that we want to enjoy the work, right? Yeah, we want to enjoy the process of doing the work. Why? Because we didn't come here to reach some end goal, to reach some final product. We came here to enjoy living every moment of every day. That's the intentional life. Yeah, living intentionally, we want to enjoy and feel pleasure in as many of the moments that we have in these physical bodies as we can, because we know that as we feel pleasure, as we feel joy, as we feel love, as we feel those wonderful positive emotions, we are taking advantage of the power of intention, and we are moving forward with that, and we're evolving with that to become the people who have the diverse experiences and do the diverse things and have the diverse relationships that we want to have, right? All of that is possible when we open ourselves to intention, and the indication that we are open to it is the positive emotion that we're feeling in the moment. So we want to enjoy the work. And so you might be saying to yourself, that's all fine and good for you, but I don't have any work now. And I totally understand that. I totally get that. I've been there too. Fairly recently, actually. And so what does that mean? Well, we want to consider the possibility that finding the job, finding the work, is the work that we're doing at the present moment, right? And so the more we can enjoy the process of finding a job, finding work, finding a project to devote ourselves to, if we can enjoy that process, we are maintaining our openness to taking advantage of the power of intention, which is always there available to us. Now you might be thinking to yourself, yeah, Derek, I know that. I've heard all of that, and I've got the job. I've got the job. And it's fine for you to say, enjoy the process, but I'm not enjoying the process. What do I do? This is where we want to do a little bit of inventory. Why am I not enjoying the process? Is it because it doesn't feel like it's happening quickly enough? Does it feel like I need to be patient for gaining results? Those thoughts, those attitudes are indications that we have cut ourselves off from the power of intention, right? Expecting, not being satisfied with the speed of our evolution, not being happy about the time it takes for us to become the people who have the experiences we want to have, who do the work that we want to do, who have the results that we want to have, who experience the things we want to experience. Not enjoying the process of our evolution because perhaps it takes too much time, or because we have to learn too much, or we have to evolve too much. All of those are indicators that we are cutting ourselves off from our own power, right? And so, we want to enjoy every step of the process and recognize that there are going to be times when we don't. For example, for the last couple of days, I've not been enjoying the process of living my life, doing the work that I'm doing for various reasons. And before I came in to work today, and before I began this video, I thought, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I can muster it up. I don't know if I can enjoy this process. I'm afraid that I'm going to fall into a pit of anger and frustration. And fortunately, that didn't happen. Hasn't happened so far. Why? And there are times when beginning these videos is a very frustrating process. For some reason today, it was not. Even though at the beginning, before I turned on the camera, I was moving from a feeling of irritation, frustration, things setting me off. But I'm okay now. Why? Well, part of it was you. I just have to admit it. Part of it is you. Part of it is, and I'm very grateful for you being here. Part of it is you and your being here, inspiring me to really give attention to how I'm approaching the work I'm doing. Because I know your eyes are on me. I've opened myself up for that. Now, why couldn't I have done that earlier in the morning? Good question. And that's something I am on the path of evolving to discover the answer to. And hopefully, as we go through these years of working with the Tarot together, I will discover that for myself as well. I'm evolving too. And I'm so grateful that you're here on this journey with me. So friends, right now I'm having a little bit of fun, and it's because of our co-creation. I'm not putting it all on you because it is me. But you inspired me. And for that I'm grateful. So friends, again, we've got a spread already laid out, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the whole spread. We'll talk briefly about the cards and the spread, and then we'll break that spread into the two major pieces and read those two pieces together. Are you all ready? Let's have some fun. The spread you just saw had two major parts. You saw that, right? If you've been here before, you know, but maybe you're new. And just in case you are new, let me tell you what you saw. There were 3 cards at the top that give us they're a positional spread from a tarot deck, which is loosely based on the Thoth Tarot, I believe. I won't call it a Thoth Tarot, but I'm going to read it as a Thoth Tarot. And it is very, it's in alignment with the Thoth system, I believe. It's not exactly the same, but there's a strong alignment there. So I'm reading it as a Thoth Tarot. And you saw 3 cards. The 3 cards are in, again, a positional spread, which means that they are each responding to a specific prompt or a specific question. And the prompt for the first card on the left is significance. Now, that is the significant answer to the question I ask every week. How can we live our lives more intentionally in the coming week, the coming whatever period of time it is? The next card, the one in the middle, gives us a challenge. And that challenge can be either positive or negative, right? The positive challenge is something we're trying to move in the direction of, something we want to achieve, or something we want to accomplish, or something we want to embody. Or a negative challenge, something that can be an obstacle, or something we need to be careful of, or we want to work our way around. And then the third card is advice. And that's a pretty simple prompt, right? What should I do? What can I do? What would be beneficial for me to do? The 2 cards at the bottom are from an oracle deck. And they give us one of 2 things. They can be a recapitulation of the spread above, or they can give us another layer of advice, a more in-depth approach to how we can manage or interact with the information we receive from the 3 cards above. That makes sense, yes? And the decks you just saw are wonderful decks. The deck at the top, I used this. Did I use this deck last week? I think I used this deck last week. Is from the Navigator's Tarot. And again, it's a system, it is a tarot that is in alignment with, but not exactly the same as a Thoth deck. There are places where it diverges a little bit. Not strongly, but a little bit. The images are very different. Okay, so yes, the artwork is completely different. There are a lot more people in this tarot, but the way that the author approaches tarot is in a very Thoth-like manner. And the cards portray a very Thoth-like system. And the more I read this deck, I can tease out more of those Thoth elements from each of the cards. The 2, and it's available. It's available. It's available if you want to order it, and there will be links in the description box below. The Oracle deck that you saw is called the Oracle of the Radiant Sun. It is available. It's a wonderful deck, especially if you want to integrate more astrology into your tarot readings, because the deck is astrologically based. For each of the 7 major lights in the sky, the 7 classical planets, which are, just in case you don't know, the Sun, the Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn. Those 7. For each one of those, we have a zodiacal house. So each one of those planets is in the zodiacal house. So we've got the full range of traditional zodiac right there in an oracle deck. So it's wonderful to use, especially, again, if you want to include more of the astrological ideas into your tarot readings. Just a little bit of a secret between you and me. For decades, I have resisted using astrology and tarot, and the wonderful, beautiful, amazing Christine Payne Towler is the one who cracked my shell and has opened me up to. Slowly, I'll admit, she's dragged me kicking and screaming into the world of including and parsing astrology with tarot. So she is wonderful, her deck is wonderful, and I'm thinking of using it again as my grand hurrah at the end of this deep dive into the Thoth system. And we'll talk about that in a month or 2. So, those were the decks. That was the spread. I'm going to focus in on the top 3 cards first. I'll show you those, and then we'll read the oracle cards later. Are you all ready? Again, let's have some fun. The 3 cards you saw from left to right were the 3 of Cups, the King of Pentacles, and the Adjustment card, which is actually Destiny in this deck. Interesting, right? Interesting choice of change of title to Destiny instead of Adjustment, which is interesting, especially when we get to the meaning, because when looking at the guidebook, beautiful guidebook for this deck, by the way, the guidebook, it really does look like Adjustment to me. I'm sorry. And yes, I'm coming in with my own prejudices, and I already admitted that I'm reading this deck in a Thoth manner, and the Thoth title for the card is Adjustment. But really, the meanings to this do not seem like Destiny to me. They seem like Adjustment to me. And we'll get to that in just a little bit. But we're going to start off with the 3 of Cups card, which is, very interestingly, titled the same in this deck as the Harris-Crowley deck. It's called Abundance, right? Now, there are no astrological glyphs on the cards, which is a little bit of I wish there were, just saying. I mean, if I'm doing a Thoth-based tarot, I love seeing both the titles and the astrological associations in the cards. This doesn't have the astrology, it does have the titles. But astrology and titles are not what make it a Thoth deck. Yeah? It's also the way of approaching tarot, which is why I consider it to be a different system. Yeah? Whereas, for example, in the Rider-Waite system, the 3 of Cups is emotional sharing and community and emotional celebration. In the Thoth system, it's not that. Well, there could be elements of that we can read in here, but it's not focused on that. It's focused on a feeling of abundance. The emotional abundance, the emotional feel, like I said, feeling, not the material experience of abundance, but the feeling of abundance, right? Which is interesting. And I don't really see that in this card specifically, and we'll get to the creator of this deck's meanings for this card briefly in just a little bit. But right now, let's look at the Harris-Crowley interpretation of the 3 of Cups, which is abundance. Yeah, the astrological association is Mercury in Cancer, which is interesting. We get a little bit of Mercury in this week's spread, but not a lot. We get Mercury in the next card. So we've got a nice bond between the significance and the challenge, which is cool. Both in the receptive elements. This one is water, the next one will be earth, which is interesting. Yeah, so we want to be receptive in both the significant answer to the question, how can we live life more intentionally? We want to be receptive. And our challenge is to be receptive. Now, people with Mercury in Cancer can be good communicators. They communicate, but not powerful in the sense of courageous or vigorous communicators, but gentle communicators. And they can become intimate and vulnerable with the people that they're communicating with. So there's an openness there, right? As long as you're in the circle of the Cancer. Because if you're outside of the circle of the Cancer, that could be problematic. But for those who are welcomed in, there's a gentle communicative ability here, and an intimacy and a vulnerability for people with Mercury in Cancer. They're deep thinkers. Yeah, they're emotional with strong mental power and memory. So that will be beneficial for us. Yeah, thinking deeply, thinking emotionally. Does that make sense to you, thinking emotionally? Yeah, where we don't just use our logical minds, we use our heart-based minds to think deeply with emotion and with memory and mental power. We don't want to split them up here. So for this card, we have the fulfillment of will received in love. Our will, we received that our will in love, in that openness to intention, and in the openness to the power that we are. And we receive our will through that. We have a potential to be lost in the underworld here, in the Thoth deck especially. Because in the Thoth deck, we've got 3 cups which are basically formed of pomegranates. And when we think of pomegranates, we think of Persephone, who was drawn down into the underworld by the god of the underworld, Hades. And then her mom, Demeter, is sad, and we lose our abundance above ground, right? Now we lose Demeter's crops, stop growing, we go into winter. And then Persephone asks to go back up to be with her mom. And Hades says, okay. But then he offers her some pomegranates. And Persephone eats, I believe, 3. And if she had not eaten those pomegranates, she could have gone up and been with her mom forever. But because she eats those pomegranates, she always has to return to the underworld. So there's a sense of entrapment a little bit here, right? But we also, I always want to remind people when we talk about Persephone that in the underworld, she is queen. She's not a slave. She marries Hades, and she becomes the queen of the underworld. And when we think of the Grecian underworld, it's not the same as the Christian underworld, right? It's not a place of fire and brimstone and torture. It's the underworld where all of the dead are gathered. It's not a place of torment and torture. It's the underworld, as opposed to the world here or the sky world in the heavens. So she is the queen of all of that empire, which isn't a small thing. And yeah, she goes up to be with her mom a little bit, and then she comes back down, and then she's the queen again. So, there's a very negative way of looking at the Persephone story, and I think there's a more empowering way of looking at that story as well. Those pomegranates of abundance. Now she gains a different kind of abundance in the underworld. So that abundance is the fruit of our labors, but it may be passing. And it could be mixed blessings according to Crowley and Lady Frida Harris. Now the creator of this deck does some interesting things here. The creator of this deck says that we should be wary of tempters. We may have people around us with manipulative intentions, reminding us a little bit of Hades, right? Hades offers those pomegranates because he wants to manipulate Persephone and get her to return back to the underworld and be his bride. Now, the final result is not entirely negative. Being queen down there and being the goddess's daughter up above, maybe being queen can be better sometimes, right? So, but we want to enjoy the abundance. We want to not to be attached to it. Why? Because if we get too attached to that feeling of abundance and enjoying the fruits of our labors, 2 things can happen. 1, we can stop being productive, and then things will start to disintegrate or crumble around us. 2, when inevitably our emotional lives are not steady, and that's a good thing. Yeah, we want to have some divergence. We want to have some variety in our emotional experience. So if we're enjoying the abundance, yes, all of this is good, and then for a moment we feel something that, we start getting a little bit bored maybe, or what's next or something, and then we could take the plunge and lose all of that sense of abundance and lose our connection and openness to the power of intention. So we want to make sure that we're not attached to feeling the same way all the time. We want to recognize the benefits of having variety in our emotional experience. And so that when things go a little bit less and feel a little bit less enjoyable, we don't freak out and drop down into the pits, but rather ride that out and say, interesting, so what's next? How can I reopen myself to abundance? Where can I feel more? Where can I elevate myself? We don't want to repress or ignore. We want to evolve through whatever experience we're having. I think that's the best way of saying that. And if you look at this card, it's very interesting. Instead of 3 cups just pouring forth water, we've got 2 figures. Apparently, one of the figures, I believe the figure in the front, yes, the figure in front has 2 cups, and the figure in the facing us and looking out from the card has 1 cup. And so the creator envisions the figure in front being the tempter and the one facing us being the tempted. So this person with the extra cup is apparently, potentially, being manipulative, trying to get the other figure to do what they want. But we also see this wonderful abundance in the background, right? So we have the choice. Do we follow the Pied Piper, or do we look at the abundance that is available to us? Behind the curtain, I guess. So, what is the significant answer? How can we live more intentionally? We want to experience our abundance without getting attached to it. Right? We want to feel fulfilled. Again, recognizing that our emotional experience is going to be not non-linear, not continuous. We're going to have a variety of emotional experiences. So that feeling of fulfillment is going to change. And we want to be happy with that. And if we can, not let the changes knock us off of our base and down into the pits of frustration, anger, despair, etc. Right? So, what is the next card? The next card is the King of Pentacles. Again, King of Pentacles in the Crowley deck is the Knight of Pentacles. It's fire of earth. Yeah, the kings in this deck are knights. We have the zodiacal sign of Virgo, which is the domicile of Mercury, from which we get mutable Earth's vital attributes entering our reading. We got Mercury here twice. Mercury in water with Cancer, the first card here in Earth. And Crowley associates all of the cards with hexagrams from the I Ching. So this, interesting. The author of this deck, for some reason, reshuffles those hexagrams, and I'm not going to go there. I'm going to hang out with Crowley's associations of the hexagrams. So this would be hexagram 62, which is Zhao Gao, maybe. My Chinese pronunciation is not to be trusted. But that's thunder over mountain. Yeah, thunder, fire over mountain, earth. Fire over earth. Makes sense, right? The Knight of Pentacles. Or discs, I should say, for Crowley. But what does that mean? It means that we have a potential for frivolity. Temptation, frivolity, etc. Right? There's a potential for frivolity here. Frivolous use of our energy, for example. Or we can fly past our capabilities and the reality of the situation. Yeah? Instead of looking at what we are capable of doing at this moment and the circumstances we're in now, we might try and fly past that to some imagined us in an imagined circumstance that can do much more than we are currently capable of doing. Now, that fiery passion can take us past who and where we are at this moment, which is problematic, to say the least, right? So, here we have the King of Pentacles. We don't want to do that. What is this card calling for? It's calling for patience. It's asking us to be careful of unrealistic ambitions, of idle dreams, and wasting time. So, moving forward with our abundance and enjoying who we are and the things that we've accomplished, we want to enjoy our patience. Enjoy. Okay, so that patience is problematic, I think. It's a problematic word. When you think of patience, what do you think of? Do you think of being in the middle of something you don't particularly like and having to wait it out until the thing you like happens? That's not the position we want to be in. That's not the attitude we want to have. That negative sense of patience is detrimental to our ability to take advantage of the power of intention. If you think patience is being cool with who we are and where we are, knowing that more is coming, that's an entirely different thing. But I would use a different word for that. For me, patience is having to put up with things until what we want to happen happens. I don't think that's what we want. I don't think that's the advice. So, we want to be careful of avoiding, again, unrealistic ambitions, idle dreams, wasting time, which are potential drawbacks of the abundance card. Interestingly, right? We want to be straightforward. We want to be grounded and earthy and passionate. Yeah, we want to maintain that passionate stance of the Knight of Discs. We want to be imaginative. Imaginative and idle dreams are very different things. Imaginative is an active, vibrational state of creativity. Idle dreams are, wouldn't it be interesting if, what if, this could be possible, yeah. Imagination is passionate, it's creative, it adds to our evolution. Idle imagination, idle dreams distract. Can you feel the difference there? So we want to be imaginative and patient in the positive sense of being happy with who we are and where we are as we evolve and do the work and move in the direction that we want to be moving in. And we want to be solid. And we want to move slowly. We want to move slowly. That is the challenge. The challenge is to want to move slowly. Isn't that interesting? Because things must be done with implacable and unwavering certainty. Which means we don't want to make quick decisions. We don't want to fly by the seat of our pants, as they say. We don't want to move so quickly that we are not paying attention to who we are, where we are, and what we are using, the vehicle we're using to move in the direction of the things we want to be, to do, or to have. We want to be happy with moving at the speed that we're moving in. And we want to be implacable, unwavering, and certain. The creator of this deck in particular tells us that motivation is key and follow-through is necessary. We want to avoid freezing in time. Now, we don't want to move slowly that we stop. We don't want to move so slowly that we stop. We don't want to freeze up. But we don't want to rush either. We want to be moving ever forward consciously. following through with the things that we planned to do, we've said we would do, we want to do, even if we might have moments of feeling uncomfortable. What do? We recognize that feeling of discomfort, and we embrace the abundance of who we are and where we are. And that will, now motivation is another problematic word. Yeah, motivation. I am motivated. That's not what we want. Yeah. Oh, my passion motivates me to move forward. I cannot resist moving forward. Carefully, slowly, yes, with clarity. But I cannot not move forward because my passion is drawing me in that direction. That's the motivation we want. Not the self-created, I am going to do this, damn it, right? That's not what we want. That's not a feeling of being open to our power of intention, is it? So, that is the challenge, to be this. And what do we have here? You see the king here sitting sitting in front of this volcano, and the lava that is pouring forth continuously, slowly. Sometimes lava moves quickly, but if you've seen most lava, it's a slow movement forward, right? That's the kind of progress we want to have. So, earth like water, as lava in this image. Which is interesting because we're going to see another volcano in the oracle cards below. We'll get to that in a moment, but what is the advice? Interestingly, the advice we got this week is the same, is a card that we got last week. Right? It is the adjustment card here called Destiny. And last week it was in position 1. That was the significant answer to our question. How can we live life more intentionally? We want to be precise, balanced, focused. Walking I called the video tightrope, right? So here we got adjustment again, which is Libra for Crowley, and the Smith-Waite system, but for Crowley, which is the domicile of Venus, and we're going to see Venus again in the spread below, in the oracle cards below. So we had Mercury twice up here on the top, we have Venus here and once below. So Venus in Libra gives us cardinal heirs vital attributes entering our spread, entering our natal charts. Now, cardinal heir as Venus in Libra. Being the sign right after Virgo, right? So we go from Mercury in Virgo into Venus in Libra. From mutable earth to cardinal heir. And the adjustment or destiny card connects Gebra and Tiphareth on the tree of life, which means what? Gebra is it's a Saturnian Saturnian Sephira to me. Yeah, because it is the boundaries, the borders, the justice of the tree of life. Whereas its partner is loving kindness, Gebra is the structure and the limits and the boundaries, and the adjustment card, for me, is very, very Gebra. But this card connects Tiphareth, which is the heart. It's the center of beauty of the tree of life, but it's also the heart of the tree of life. It connects the heart to our sense of justice. So we have both here in the adjustment / destiny card. It's associated with the Hebrew letter Lamed, and unfortunately we don't get Hebrew letters here. Another I wish in this deck. The Hebrew letter is Lamed, which is an ox goad, but also learning and teaching. Yeah, receiving information and giving forth of information, for example, in all of its forms of information. which also connects to the rune Jared, which kind of looks like two, like a greater than, less than symbol linked up together. And that is the rune for harvest, but also rewards and harmony. Harmony, balance, adjustment. In the traditional, more traditional cards, which would be justice, right? Adjustment, destiny, we have harmony here in the rune. So here, balance is a delicate position. We want to remember every little action can have a larger, unexpected reaction. So we want to be balanced. Even this faintest breath of thought can stir our environment, right? So every energy must be applied with integrity. We want, and sometimes we may want to suspend activity before action. Not the freeze that was warned of in this King of Pentacles, or the Knight of Discs. Where are you? This card, in this card, we don't want to do the freeze, but we might want to suspend action for a moment to take stock, because we want to be sure we're moving with what? With patience, with integrity, with what is the word? The word has fallen from my brain. With certainty. Yeah? So we might want to take a pause before acting. We also may want to engage other people, to work in partnership with equal balance and harmony. We also want to measure ourselves against the task that we're doing. Remember, we don't want to overshoot, which we were reminded of in the Knight of Pentacles card. So here that's emphasized again. We want to measure ourselves against what we have decided to accomplish. And we want to celebrate reality, the reality of our perception. Again, celebration, the abundance card, the Three of Cups. So that's the advice. Celebrate, be precise, be measured, measure ourselves against what we're doing. We might want to enlist other people into the task. We want to apply our energy with integrity. We want to be sure that we know that everything that we do could have a greater effect than we anticipate. And so, how are we rocking the boat? For good or for ill? The creator of this deck calls this again destiny, right? Which I still don't get. Because the creator says balanced judgment is asked for. That doesn't sound like destiny to me. We want sharpened discernment. We want integrity. We want to reach for equilibrium from a non-judgmental center. So, the difference between adjustment and judgment. Yeah? Judgment can be judgmental, but that's not the adjustment card. The adjustment card, and I think this card, which again she calls destiny, is asking us from our non-judgmental center to reach for balance and equilibrium. And you can see the figure in the center is doing that, yeah? Standing on one foot. In the deck, in the card drawn by Lady Frida Harris, what do we see? We see an Egyptian goddess-like figure, but the soles of the feet of that goddess are, now think of, I can't do it this way. Think of this being the heel, this being the toe. So backwards, yeah? The soles of the feet are pressed together against the sword. And she's holding the sword. So she's standing on the sword, pointing down standing on its tip. So it's a very, very precarious balance, right? The balance of this figure does not seem nearly as precarious, but we get the idea. Don't we? I think so. And so we get the idea of balance between figures here, yeah? This figure in the center is balancing also physically. So, I'm sorry, I don't see destiny as the title. I see adjustment and balance being the title for this card. And it really does align nicely with Crowley's interpretation, I believe. Yeah? Okay, so those are the three cards. And that's, I think, excellent advice. Don't you? If you do think it's excellent advice, let me know in the comments below. If you don't think it's excellent advice, let me know in the comments below. How would you read these three cards together? Now, friends, we've got two cards of either recapitulation or advice from the Oracle deck, and let's go take a look at those cards together. Here they are. The two cards you saw from left to right were Lust and Fulfillment. Just the titles themselves sound pretty enticing, right? Lust and Fulfillment. The reading of the cards is not as exciting as those two titles seem to point us towards. But I think these two cards are pointing towards a balance, maybe. Like the adjustment card was pointing towards, called Destiny. But let's start with the first card, here, the Lust card. We see Venus. Remember I was talking about Venus, right? We have Venus here in Aries, which is not her happiest, her most comfortable place. Maybe not her least comfortable place, but not her most comfortable place. Because Aries is the domicile of Mars. So Mars and Venus are partners, are pairs. They're a linked pair. And so Venus is in the house of her partner. So she needs to be a little bit aware of what she's doing. She's in unfamiliar surroundings, but they are her partner's surroundings. So there is some potential for pleasure there, which Venus is all about, right? So, on the image, what do we see? We see a volcano, which indicates Aries, sudden energy. And we see the woman there being Venus, all Venused out, right? And then we see a chameleon, which is changing to become what is required. Now, chameleons change color to match, to be able to blend in with their surroundings, but I don't think we're asked to blend in with our surroundings here, but rather change to match the situations that we are in. So according to the creator of this deck, love and self-will require personal attention and wariness of competition. We don't want to fall into competitive modes of operation here. Because if we do fall into competition, we can become impulsive in love and beauty and do some damage either to ourselves or others. So we want to be love. And like Crowley says, very interestingly, all is love, love under will. Yeah? Love and self-will are required here with personal attention. We want to have a healthy lust for life. Echoing that abundance card, right? We want to be cheerful and enthusiastic. And we can make good business and romantic contracts at this time, with Venus being in Aries. So we want to assert ourselves with warmth and charm, and be like a hard hand in a velvet glove. Yeah? We want to be certain, sure, strong, like the hard hand, but with the warmth and charm of the glove above it. Now that doesn't mean that we're trying to fake people out. right? It's just that we don't want to club them over the head with our powerful hands. We want to stroke them with our powerful hands. And so we've put a glove over our hands to make our interaction more pleasurable. Does that make sense? Because we've got a lot of power here, but we want to make sure that our self-will is directed with love and attention and with warmth and charm and caresses. Yeah? And that's paired up with a very interesting partner, yeah, which is this card, the Fulfillment card, which is Saturn in Sagittarius. So we had Venus in Aries and Saturn in Sagittarius. Saturn in Sagittarius is also not a really comfortable match, but it can work. Sagittarius is passionate, it's fiery, it's let's go forward, let's do the thing. And Saturn is rules and structures and limitations. So there's a very strong tension here. And we see here a merchant waiting for a ship from abroad. That's what the creator sees in this card. Now, the ship could also be heading out, right? Just like the three of Wands card in the Smith-Waite deck, where you see the guy standing on the hill with the three wands looking at the ship in the water. Is the ship going out? Is the ship coming in? Looks to me like this ship could be going out, but, according to the creator, this is the ship coming in. Or it could be that the ship is going out and he's waiting for it to return. I mean, there are, many ways of thinking about this. You see the sack of cash there by his feet, so he's comfortable as it is. He's got the resources to wait out the ship's return. And there's an ancient talisman above. And that talisman is apparently for good luck in the lottery. I have no idea. I have no idea what those glyphs are. Do you where my finger is? That thing there? That's a talisman for luck in the lottery. Go figure. But what does this card mean? It means intellectual pride. We want to be careful. Our desire to be accepted as an authority can be problematic. On the other hand, philosophy and religion might be important to us. Religion, spirituality, whatever your understanding of the meta, the non-physical are, that can be your religion. Let's think of it, when we're talking about religion in this card, let's think about it in that way. Yeah? Philosophies, our personal philosophies can be included, and also our personal religions. Now, the way that we have organized what we consider to be our contact with, our connection with, our relationship with the divine. Ambition plus sense of achievement here is beneficial. Optimism and reality together are beneficial. We want to be careful of a potential for self-righteousness. We don't want to do that. And we want to be careful that if we sense hypocrisy, we could get sent off, and that would be less than helpful at this time in our lives. Now, we don't want to get set off because, remember, adjustment card. We want to be balanced. So be careful of getting knocked off balance by hypocrisy around us. Be careful of our self-righteousness knocking us off of balance. But we can be successful in our ambitions or business ventures here if we do the thing of combining these two, right? Venus in front of the volcano and the merchant in front of the ocean. Imagination, let's stretch it a little bit. You can very clearly see Venus in front of the fire of the volcano here, right? This merchant is very Saturnian to me. So this Saturn figure is sitting in front of what? the watery ocean. So we got Venus in front of the fire, and we've got Saturn in front of the water. So we want to be able to, and fire and water are elementally ill-dignified, which means they're in conflict. They resist each other. So we want to find a way to bring these together, I think. We want to bring our love and will, our soft glove covered with it, covering a powerful hand, with our ambitions and our sense of achievement and our enjoyment of that and our optimism, not removed from reality, but our optimism within reality. We want all of those things together, which makes me think of the adjustment card, but it also makes me think of the entire spread above, right? Does that make sense? Can you see those echoes from all three cards above in these two cards below? I think this is a wonderful reading. I think it's a very beneficial reading. And I think it's a reading that will remind us to enjoy what we're doing. Whether we're looking for work or we have work to do, enjoy what we're doing. Enjoy every step, every moment of the process as much as we can. And remember that our emotional state is going to be various. We're going to have a variety of emotional states, and that we want to enjoy that process as well. We don't want to fly off into disconnected, fantastic in the sense of disconnected from reality dreams. But we want to imagine, we want to allow our imaginations to stir our passions, which will help us enjoy who we are, where we are, and where we're going. To make us feel like we cannot not move forward, but we want to move forward with clarity, with purpose. We don't want to rush. We want to move step by step, by beautiful step. That's what's going to benefit us for the coming week. And I hope that makes sense to you. If it does, again, let me know in the comments below. If it does not, let me know in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you. If you want a reading from me, my email address is below, thehangedmaninthemoon@gmail.com. Send me an email, we'll get you a reading. Or you can let me know in the comments below. Yeah, tell me you want a reading, we'll do it for you. We'll find a way. Also, thank you. Thank you for hitting that thumbs up button and for subscribing to the channel. It really does help the channel. It helps bring the channel in front of eyes of people who might not otherwise have easily found the channel, so you help other people. And friends, now, as always, as I thank you for joining me on this journey, I wish you love, joy, well-being, and pure awareness. Thank you.